Every one of you has picked up a handful of sand at least once in your life. Take a handful of sand. It weighs almost nothing. It costs almost nothing. You can find it on almost any beach on Earth. Scoop it up from any desert, or shake it out of your shoes after a walk along the shore. Now look carefully at the phone in your hand. At their core, these two objects begin with the very same material. The only difference is 400,000 engineering steps and one physical property that humanity learned to control less than 200 years ago. The sand in your hand is the frozen ash of a dead star, a crystal forged inside a dying stellar core, then blasted into space during a supernova, long before the sun existed, long before Earth was born. It spent billions of years lying in mountains, dunes, and riverbeds, doing absolutely nothing. Then one day, humans picked up a handful of that ash and taught it how to think. Today, we're going to explore how ordinary sand gave birth to Silicon Valley, helped put humans on the moon, and why. Right now, 3 superpowers are willing to risk conflict over one tiny island. A simple question that almost nobody asks out loud. Why do computers think using silicon instead of something else? The answer isn't rarity. Silicon is the second most abundant element in Earth's crust, right after oxygen. There is, quite literally, an endless supply of it. The answer is something else. Imagine a water pipe. Some pipes let water flow freely all the time. Those are conductors, like metals. Other pipes are completely shut off. Those are insulators, like glass, rubber, or ceramic. For a long time, there seemed to be nothing in between. Simply put, silicon is a pipe with a gate. The gate is normally closed, but with the right signal, it opens. And here's the astonishing part. To control that gate, you only need to add a single foreign atom among a billion silicon atoms. One atom of boron, or phosphorus, just one atom in a billion, and the material completely changes its behavior. Our entire digital civilization is built on that single property. Every transistor inside your phone is one of those gates. A gate that controls the flow of binary code. Open. 1. Closed. 0. Billions of gates switching billions of times every second. That's what you call thinking. Silicon doesn't conduct electricity. It controls it. And that's why humanity took ordinary sand with its bare hands and built a machine that can think faster than we can. The stone that was worth more than gold. Long before chemistry existed, people already knew silicon. They just didn't know it was silicon. Flint, an ordinary rock, produced an incredibly sharp cutting edge when struck. A good piece of flint meant a successful hunt, and a family that survived. Archaeologists have discovered ancient workshops where flint was carried hundreds of kilometers from the place where it was mined. Stone Age people traded this rock because their lives literally depended on it. None of them could have imagined that they were holding the very element which, thousands of years later, would determine whether a rocket reached the sky or never left the ground. The explosive saved by trash. For years, Alfred Nobel tried to tame nitroglycerin, an explosive so unstable that it could detonate from a violent shake, a sudden change in temperature, or what almost seemed like a single, careless glance. Factory after factory exploded. Even Nobel's own brother was killed. The solution came from something everyone considered worthless: diatomaceous earth, a soft rock made from the fossilized skeletons of microscopic algae, organisms whose shells were built from silicon. Nobel discovered that if this porous mineral was soaked with nitroglycerin, the explosive became stable and safe enough to transport. That was the birth of dynamite. One of the most profitable and most dangerous materials of the 19th century was made practical by the fossilized silicon shells of tiny algae, something nobody had ever considered valuable before. The 8 men who walked out. 1957. Palo Alto, California. Shockley Semiconductor. Its founder was William Shockley, Nobel Prize-winning physicist, and one of the inventors of the transistor just a few years earlier at Bell Labs. A genius and a tyrant. Shockley forced employees to take polygraph tests. He posted everyone's salaries on a public bulletin board. He publicly dissected their mistakes, humiliating them in front of the entire company. He believed that only he was capable of leading the business to success. Everyone else was simply there to obey and stay afraid. 8 young engineers, including future Intel co-founder Robert Noyce, finally reached their limit. They gathered together, and on September 18th, all 8 resigned on the very same day. When Shockley found out, he called them the Traitorous 8. The name stuck forever. It entered the history of technology as an insult that eventually became a badge of honor. The 8 engineers found an investor and, that same year, founded Fairchild Semiconductor. A few years later, just like branches growing from the same tree, that company would give birth to Intel, AMD, and dozens of other firms that laid the foundation of modern electronics. Silicon Valley wasn't given its name by accident. In a very real sense, it grew out of one genius's betrayal by his own students. Stop for a second. You just heard stories about arrowheads, explosives, stories that feel distant, as if they happened to someone else. But they didn't. Silicon never stayed behind in the sand on the beach. It has quietly found its way into almost everything you own. It's in your pocket, on your skin, in your mouth, and sometimes even inside your body. The closest example is probably the screen beneath your finger right now. Inside it is an ultra-pure silicon crystal. The cream on your skin, even the toothpaste you used this morning. They're made with silicone, a silicon-based polymer. The glass in the window beside you, the chip inside your credit card, the electronics in the car you drive. even nanotechnology devices, and tiny medical implants. You may never hold a bar of pure silicon in your hands. You may never even think about this element. And yet, in the course of a completely ordinary day, you physically touch its processed forms dozens of times, without ever realizing it. We've been taught to think of silicon as just another boring element from the periodic table. The truth is, it's already here. It's all around you. And part of it is already inside you. There is a small island in the Pacific Ocean. On that island stands a company called TSMC. It manufactures about 90% of the world's most advanced microchips. Not 10%, not 50%, 90%. That island is Taiwan, which means that almost every modern smartphone, every self-driving vehicle, and every system training artificial intelligence depends on a single company, on a single island, just 180 kilometers from mainland China, a country that openly claims Taiwan as its own territory. To manufacture these chips, there is only one machine in the world capable of doing the job. An extreme ultraviolet lithography system built by the Dutch company ASML. It costs more than some countries spend on their entire military in a year. It cannot even be transported as a single machine. It has to be taken apart, flown in on multiple cargo Boeing aircraft, and reassembled on site over the course of months. Once the United States realized how dependent it had become, it passed the CHIPS Act and committed $52 billion. Not to weapons, not to space exploration, but to learning how to manufacture perfectly engineered silicon at home. If this one company, on this one island, stopped operating for even a few months, it wouldn't just shut down a few factories. It would bring the global economy to a halt. Literally, physically, within weeks. The world's most important front line today is no longer about oil. It's about the ability to manufacture silicon with the right purity, in the right form. And that war has already begun. It just hasn't fired a single shot. Yet. There are many more stories about silicon. We've only scratched the surface. There is the story of a man who, in 1916, accidentally discovered a way to grow a perfect crystal. Today, that very method is used to grow virtually every single crystal silicon wafer for every chip on Earth. During World War II, he remained in occupied territory, trying to protect his employees from deportation. After the war, that decision cost him everything. His name, his reputation, decades of recognition. He was erased from the history of science, branded a traitor. Today, his method operates in every semiconductor factory on the planet. But he himself was not officially cleared until half a century later. And one day, we'll tell that entire story through original documents, witness testimony, and the court ruling that changed his fate. Twice. There is silicosis, a disease that slowly kills miners and sandblasters. For years, it destroys their lungs from the inside. with the very same dust used to make the glass in your window. There was the largest class action lawsuit in medical history. A company that manufactured silicone breast implants paid billions of dollars to women around the world. After decades of hiding information about the risks, there is even a real sand mafia. Armed, violent, leaving bodies behind. Not fighting over drugs, but over ordinary sand. The right kind of sand has become so scarce that islands in Dubai and Singapore have literally been built using sand stolen from other countries. And then there was 2021. The assembly lines at General Motors, Ford, and Toyota all stopped. Not because they ran out of steel, not because of a strike. Their factories shut down because they couldn't get tiny silicon chips, each worth only a few dollars. Every one of these stories deserves its own investigation, and we will tell them. Let's go back to that handful of sand. Those tiny gray grains, worth almost nothing, scattered across beaches all over the world, beneath the feet of billions of people who never stop to wonder what they're walking on, or what they're holding in their hands. They don't realize that what they're really looking at is silicon. Silicon never asked to be born inside the core of a dying star. It never asked to wait for billions of years beneath Earth's surface. It never asked to become a window, a lunar spacecraft, or the reason nations may one day fight over a tiny island. It simply waited, longer than any civilization has existed, longer than memory itself. And right now, while you're listening to this, somewhere on this planet, another chip is being born from a handful of that very same sand.